Hello, my name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Center for Computer and Information Technology here at Murray State University. And welcome today. This is going to be the first of a series of videos that live videos that we push out. And what we're doing is trying to recognize some folks in our region that have had a significant impact to technology in West Kentucky at Murray State in our program over the years. Each year, typically at Security Matters at the awards luncheon, we get to recognize several folks that have made an impact to technology in West Kentucky, throughout the state, sometimes even multi-state areas. And obviously, we didn't get to have an in-person event this year, but we still wanted to recognize those people in our region. So each of the next few weeks, we will recognize one individual that has received an award this year for one of those areas that we annually recognize. Today's first award is the Dr. Gene Wells Ray Lifetime Achievement Award. And this year's recipient and I were able to catch up recently, and I want to share that video with you now, that interview with you now of this year's Gene Wells Ray Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. First award that we want to highlight this year is the Dr. Gene Wells Ray Lifetime Achievement Award. The award itself is given to an individual that has exhibited a significant and sustained contribution to CIT over a career. The individual should have an extended period of executive level contribution in corporate, academic, or government positions. And when I think through that criteria, there is probably nobody that we have ever given this award to that has had a more long-lasting, sustained impact on the CIT in West Kentucky than this year's recipient. The only thing that I regret about this year's recipient is that I wasn't able to do this in person and greet him and give him this award in person. But this year's winner is John Voss. John Voss has, for the last 30 plus years, been with West Kentucky Community Technical College. However, a few months ago, he actually did end that career and retired. John has been involved in the CIT program at West Kentucky since it started. He has been an advocate for technology in West Kentucky, helped high schools get involved in CIT areas, helped Murray State in a number of ways, has served on our national advisory board since we started it. This was the first year that we unfortunately weren't able to have John because he's retired. But John has done so much for our region and our state, and really even our multi-state region, that this year John is certainly a very deserving recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Last thing I'll say before I ask John to share just a little bit is the first time I went out to a high school, I went to Marshall County High School to talk to a class. Bobby Woods was the teacher. And I walked in, and the very first thing that Bobby shared with me was talking about these new routers he got, Nortel routers back then, through a grant with John Voss. The next school I went to was now the Four Rivers Career Academy. And the teacher says, look at these routers we got thanks to John Voss. Everywhere I have gone to talk to high school students regarding CIT, there is some aspect in West Kentucky that has been impacted by John Voss. And let me first say, John, congratulations. This is extremely deserving. You are very deserving of this award. And thank you for all that you've done over the last decades for CIT in West Kentucky.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. I am very, very humbled and very honored to have received this award. Yes, it has been a long career. I've really, really enjoyed the time that I've spent educating, being with students at high schools, at the community college, at the universities. Teaching technology was always a passion of mine. I guess I started teaching at West Kentucky in 1989, fall of 1989. And, even then, the school itself didn't really have internet. And the technology changes that have taken place over those 30 years has just been astronomical. And, when a student or someone is thinking about getting into a career such as this, one of the lasting impacts that I have always said to those students is that you really, really have to have a great passion for what you're doing to be good at what you do. And I always felt like over the years, that was my greatest passion, was to get involved with technology. I just kind of live, breathed, and eat technology. So that, and passing that knowledge on was a great rewarding thing for me. I know over the years we did a lot of efforts in trying to write grants. We had a major National Science Foundation Center grant for Kentucky. Back then it was called the Kentucky IT Center or KIT Center. And through that time, I think we raised from NSF and through other funds between $7 and $8 million. The primary focus was in educating teachers and trying to provide training for those secondary ed schools to entice students to get involved in technology more so than just gaming or being a consumer of electronics or technology, but to be creators and energize them to learn, to dig in a little deeper, to think about what the next thing is on the horizon. We generated a lot of impact globally, even across the entire United States. I think at one time I taught nearly 400 teachers across the country as VMware certified instructors to be able to teach that. We've taught, certifications such as Microsoft's certification, big proponent of the Cisco Academy program and academic programs that many of the major technology vendors have provided. I think it was not just a vendor specific program, but a great learning avenue for online learning and students to get involved and learn a lot more about technology in general. But those programs I was always involved with for many, many years, and a big proponent of getting students into those academic careers. So it was a passion. I loved it. But there comes a time, that everybody reaches, and you do reach a stage at some point that you can get a little burned out. You take a little break, you come back, and you just have fun doing what you do. So to me, that was the most rewarding thing, was just being there and doing those kinds of things. And I think, in the long run, we made a large impact in this region. We had a lot of students that came through. I still see students there when I go out in the community and see what they've been doing, and some of them have been doing some great things. So been proud of that fact, been able to see that. I see actually some of my students that are now teaching there at Murray State and going on and doing other things that it just feels great to have had a small part in what they do and see how they have really grown. So I do thank you and appreciate that.
Well, let me ask, is there one, and maybe it's some of the grants that you just mentioned, but is there one project, one class project, one story that always sticks out when you think back of, this was really fun, this was really cool, this was really interesting, just something that anything that really just sticks out to you?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing that I was involved with that really meant a lot was the Kentucky IT Center, and the amount that we did every summer to train teachers and new teachers in technology, and to see, their overwhelming involvement and the contacts that you make and the people that you talk to, and it's across the entire state of Kentucky. So that to me was probably the one thing that really energized a lot of things that we did. Now, probably the other thing is my involvement in the Cisco Academy program globally, because I also became a certified instructor trainer at the time. So I got to meet a lot of other teachers around the country, in both Canada, United States. Had probably the other thing that impacted, we had some competitions that we did with students in that group, and we were fortunate at West Kentucky to have students place in the top 3, actually top 5 several years in a row in the entire United States and Canada. So well over 5,000 students participating, and to know that you had students that placed in the top 5 of that kind of competition was very gratifying for me as an educator, and certainly for those students too, because they did a lot of work to get there. But those are probably the 2 things that I think back on the career that are probably the most rewarding.
Well, you have a lot that you could highlight, stories that I hear and from your former students that are also our former students, or former students that are teaching, and it's the impact, as I mentioned, has been phenomenal. And thank you for all that you have done throughout your career. And if you ever get bored with retirement, you just let us know, because I'm sure we can find a teaching position for you somewhere.
Well, as I get older, it's harder and harder to stay up to date, with things. And I think what's going to happen in the next 5 years is just mind blowing. I think, when it comes to technology and what's going to go on. So, but it does feel good. And I really appreciate all of the things that Murray State University, the TSM program in the past, the CIT program now, that has done for us. They've always been there to support me as well. So whenever I ask to need something and support from you all, whether it was Dr. Gant or yourself, we always got a great input. Dr. Claiborne was always a big proponent of the program, and I think those people are just great. So we appreciate everything that you all have done.
Well, thank you, and we I look forward to seeing you in retirement, maybe at a campground, maybe at the lake, here and there, but it is well-deserved retirement. Thank you for all that you've done in your career.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as I shared, John Voss was a instrumental proponent of technology in West Kentucky. And as many of us know, who have worked with him over the years, he is certainly a well-deserving recipient this year of the Gene Wells Ray Lifetime Achievement Award. Just a couple things before we wrap up for today. Around this time next week, we will be recognizing our next award recipient in our annual awards. So I want you to make sure you stay tuned for that. Also coming up in September 16th, will be our annual IT Matters. For those familiar with our spring conference, Security Matters, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been doing IT Matters as well. So stay tuned for IT Matters. Coming up in September, we have some great speakers that are going to be joining us in September as well. So I want you to make sure that you are pencil the afternoon of September the 16th on your calendar, and join us as we learn a little bit more about this evolving world of IT, as Mr. Voss shared, and maybe we can connect and network a little bit and learn and have fun at the same time. I appreciate you joining us today, and again, join us next week at the same time as we recognize our next recipient of one of our annual awards in CIT. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.